Hi, it's James. Welcome to today's top 10 / bottom 10 list. So today's top 10 list is going to be my top 10 favorite comic book characters of all time. It's not necessarily going to be a list of the main heroes. It'll be like people who are into comic books. You know, they want it to be the main characters. They can be like side characters or supporting characters too. So, you know, I'm not going to go through a list of like the main people, but there are main people in there, but there are people that are supporting characters that I like a lot too. So I'm not going to do any props or anything. I'll tell you about them and what I think about them. So you could probably do some research and look at books of your own. So don't let me tell you what to do. So yeah, let's get to the countdown. There's not going to be any honorable mentions today. So let's just jump into it. Number 10. Number 10 is a character named Steel from the Superman series. When he first started out, he was one of the 4 replacement Supermen when after Superman died for the storyline of Reign of the Supermen. So basically, he's just a guy who adopted more or less a suit made of steel because he was trying to take back a weapon he'd once created for the military that got into gangland hands, and basically he was like Luke Cage more or less in the DC universe, fighting in the suicide slums of Metropolis until towards the end of with the Return of Superman, where he had to fight with Superman to help defeat the alien menace that was coming. So he's made a niche for himself in the DC universe, being one of Superman's allies, one of his friends, more or less technically like it's Tony Stark's more or less. But I just thought when I first read about him, it was just so much heart and intensity and just motivation to do the right thing that it kind of got to me. So yeah, Steel's in at number 10. Number 9. In the mid 1990s, Marvel came up with this storyline set in 2099, and my choice for number 9 is the Spider-Man from 2099 named Miguel O'Hara. Basically, he had his DNA manipulated in order to try to wipe out a drug that was clinging to it, which made him highly addicted. So during a mishap, his genetic makeup got mixed up with a spider, so he gained spider-like abilities with basically what you saw in the Spider-Man movie was more or less what happened to him. So he had like fangs, but he had like talons coming out of his fingers. He was shooting web out of his forearm, and he got the strength of the spider and whatnot. Then basically he spent the whole storyline trying to take down a company called Alchemex from within, from which he was an employee. But I thought it was a very imaginative storyline. I enjoy the character. He's a little darker than Spider-Man and a little more gritty, but you know, I guess the future is the same thing and is dark and gritty in the comic book, so it is what it is. Number 8. For number 8, I'm going to bring up one of the most hated characters ever in comic book history. I'm going to bring up the Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly. Why do I like this character when somebody else hate it? I just thought he was just a guy. Yes, he's a clone of Peter Parker. Fine, okay, I get it. But he's still realized he has abilities. He doesn't know what he's doing. Most of the things he's doing, he's just doing it. Maybe it's because of false memories or whatever, but he knows he has abilities, so he's going to use them, whether he wants to or not, or whether he thinks it's right or wrong. He's just going to do them. Like the one storyline I remember the most is when he went against Venom, and nobody else is willing to take up the fight, and it's just him, and he's like, well, this is a guy that beat up Peter Parker, but I don't know how I can do it, but I'll try, and I'll do what I can to stop him. And he finds a way to stop Venom, and he thinks maybe I can do this after all. Maybe I can be as good as Spider-Man. I know people hate this because basically he was brought in because they're shifting the storyline, because all they did in the 90s is just take Spider-Man, just give him stupid storylines and just whatever they can. I don't know why, but that's what Marvel did. But I'm going to say I liked the Scarlet Spider. NumberSeven. Now for DC's top supporting character, I'm choosing James Gordon, the police commissioner of Gotham City, who's in many ways the Bruce Wayne Batman father figure. Basically, as Bruce Wayne, as Batman once said, basically Jim Gordon is the same age his father would have been if he lived. So, and he has so much admiration for him and whatnot. There's one book in particular in the Hush series where Batman is just on the verge of killing the Joker because he just decided no more, and Gordon is doing whatever he can to stop him and basically telling him he can't step over the line because then he's going to become everything he hates, and just Batman is over the edge because he's son, or what he thought he saw was the Joker killing his childhood friend, and he's like, no more. This is the last person. I'm not going to let anyone else do it. And basically, they can't. Jim Gordon's convincing him not to cross the line. Or I would even go with killing Joker. Basically, the Joker tried to drive him insane and prove that one day of losing everything can just drive you nuts. And he still, at the end of the day, he's like, no, we're still going to arrest the Joker. I don't care. So he's probably one of my favorite supporting characters of all time. NumberSix. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worships evil might beware my power. Green Lantern's light. The next character on this list is Hal Jordan, the original Green Lantern himself. Basically, I didn't get into him until Green Lantern 47, when I was reading The Return of Superman, and Hal Jordan comes from outer space to find his home city destroyed. And basically, 2 issues after that, they take him to the ringer and just drive him. Basically, he gets driven mad because the Guardians would not let him use his power to reestablish his city, so he just goes and destroys the whole Green Lantern Corps. Well, he's changed a lot in the last 20 years. He went from hero to one of the foremost villains, and becoming Parallax, to becoming the Spectre, to becoming a hero again when it's realized that he didn't exactly destroy the Green Lantern Corps. He was possessed by the spirit of fear. And basically, he's just a man who's just trying to do the best. He's a space cop. He's trying to do the best job he can. Trying to do it with his best of his abilities. And he just soldiers on as much as he can. I appreciate that. So yeah, Hal Jordan's on a list. NumberFive. The main characters would not be anything without their supporting cast. So for my choice for the Marvel best supporting character, one of my favorite characters is J. Jonah Jameson. A character so epic and supporting, they made a figure for the Spider-Man movie line. I mean, what's to say? He's cranky. J. Jonah Jameson is just demanding. He hates Spider-Man. Just, he doesn't respect that, the notion of vigilantism. And, even there are quiet moments where he'll admit that there's a necessity for Spider-Man when nobody's around. But predominantly, it's just, he hates Spider-Man. He doesn't want. He knows it's a necessary evil. He knows that Spider-Man don't sell newspapers or whatever, but he just wants to rail against him and do everything to destroy him, even because, as I stated, just you can't take the law into your own hands, and when there's police and whatnot. So Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson is on my list. NumberFour. When he first came out in 1962, he was touted as the hero who could be anyone. So it's Spider-Man as this selection. Basically, I liked how Peter Parker was forget the Spider-Man stuff, that superhero stuff. I liked how he was like me. He had troubles. He had financial troubles at home. He had women troubles. He had school troubles. He had the weight of the world on his shoulders. And then at the end of the day, he still had to put on the Spider-Man costume and put all that troubles to the side more as much as he could. But still, even when he's fighting, he still has to worry about it. Which I thought was interesting, because you don't see Superman saying, "Oh, I hope I can get money to make pancakes," when he's like lifting a train or whatever. While Peter Parker is like, basically, I wonder if I can make Aunt May's mortgage while he's getting beaten up on a rhino or trying to bring in the lizard or something, which I thought was interesting. He was probably the most everyman character in the Marvel Universe that they have ever seen. Unfortunately, in the 90s, all they did is try to tweak storylines and tweak the character and make him into something that's not. They've been doing it ever since the 1990s, which I don't understand why. Is he really that boring of a character now that they got to change everything about him? So, I like Spider-Man. It's probably the best Marvel character that's on the list, maybe. NumberThree. I'd be a damn fool not to have Batman on my list anywhere. Really, who in the world will never list Batman in their list of favorite characters ever? It's just, I can't describe Batman, and basically I can, but Batman is just probably the biggest icon in DC Comics history outside of Superman. He's Sherlock Holmes, but dressed like a nightmare, more or less. That's when he started out as just the Dark Knight detective, just trying to solve crimes and whatnot, and now basically he's just a night warrior declaring war on crime, making sure no one will ever again have the fate that he fell on when he was a child. But it's more than that. It's the fact that at the end of the day he's just a man. He doesn't have powers. He'll take the bruises, he'll take the beatings. Even had his back broken, obviously, and he's still around after all these years, and he still rules the night. Number 2. For number 2 on the list, we're not going to go with Harley Quinn. We're going to go with the Joker on the list. Why the Joker for my number 2 favorite character? Just for the unpredictability about him. It's just every time they put him in a Batman comic, it's an event to me. It's something important. It's usually almost always a great storyline. There's just something about him. It both is brilliant and creepy and what have you, but it's a comic character I can't turn away from, and that's a good thing. It's if you want to read the greatest Joker story ever, The Killing Joke. It's a very adult tale, but it's everything you need to know about the Joker, and maybe Arkham Asylum too. But basically, what can I say about the Joker? Is just, as basically in the movie, he's just a dog chasing a car. He doesn't know what to do if he gets him. It's like he goes from one scheme or one crime to the next, maybe because he loses his. But it's basically everything's a joke to him. The whole society's a joke, and nobody gets a punchline. And that's just kind of the brilliance of him. He's mad, twisted, and probably my favorite villain of all time. And my number 1 favorite comic book character of all time is... So for my number 1 pick, my number 1 comic book character, I've picked the communist hero himself, Red Rocket from the DC Universe. Or Rocket Red, or No. Everybody knows what my favorite superhero is because I've never, or favorite comic book characters I've never been shy about. It's Superman. Always has been. I don't know what it is. It might be that the ethereal belief of man wanting to fly, to break gravity or whatever, to be better than himself, to almost be God on Earth, whatever. I don't know, but something about Superman has always clicked with me. Whether, just nothing is too small for him to handle, or nothing's too big for him to handle. He's always been a person I've wanted to emulate and try to be as best as I can. Because Superman loves everybody, and he's not going to put one person over another unless say it's Lex Luthor. Then screw that guy. But if I were to recommend with Superman's story, I would go with individual stories. Maybe the story for the man who has everything. That's a good one. I would probably go with the death and return of Superman storyline. That's probably my favorite one of all time, because when he returns from being quote unquote dead, basically he has no powers. But he still has that belief that I'm going to stop the villains of the story, even though they've built a massive engine where there once was a city and they're going to basically turn Earth into a flying ship more or less. But it just something about Superman and his selflessness just always struck to me. So that's my top 10 list. So I hope you enjoyed it, and as much as I enjoyed it for telling you. So next week I'm going to try to go with the top 10 comic book performances in film. So we'll see how that goes. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.